Welcome to episode 51 of Fort Fritz. I am your host, Fritz, joined as always by co-host Bandaddy.
Hi.
And Kaz.
How are y'all doing today?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going down to the old Restrepum Inlet.
Nice.
You get a little, I heard the old fish are biting, the old kipper.
Yep, I got my my short pants on.
When don't you?
Those are,
Those are really short, as always. Those aren't just shorts. That's like a thong with like a glandular problem.
Look how far I can skip.
Don't do that. Oh, that looks so bad from
it's
the back.
very brushy and like you should probably wear long pants out here. It's
Now I'm back.
You're getting eaten.
Oh,
alive.
yeah, there's
and
a lot of thistles.
A lot of thistles.
And the what's the bug called when you walk and it just flies right into your face?
gnat.
Possibly a no-see-em. I didn't see him. Did you see him?
I don't like those.
A no-see-em. Is
Yeah.
that what that is?
Whatever it
called
is, I don't like
no-see-ems.
it.
You're definitely not a Southerner.
No.
Definitely not a
Well, I mean,
Southerner.
I've been here by proxy, right? Like how many years now? A couple?
It doesn't matter. If you're not born, I was born into it. I didn't sound nothing like
Alligator
Robert.
snatched me from my mother's loins.
Well,
Tossed me into the St. John's.
We're not going to do any of that kind of thing. We're just here to fish now.
Yeah.
We're just here to fish
Well,
over by
if a-
Restrepum Inlet.
Baby needs to be snatched from loins. We might need to
Sure.
throw him into Restrepum Bay. I don't know. Yeah, make him a true Florida boy.
Well, the inlet here backs up to a wild chicken roosting place. What's that? Roost? A brood?
This is where there's definitely been chicken activity over here.
There has been in the past.
Kind of hear
definitely.
them.
There's definite chicken activity in the area.
They're robust. They're a big-legged bird.
It's
know
a
what
chunky
I mean?
bird. It's
Yeah.
a chunky bird.
And they're angry. They're feisty.
They are feisty. They're angry, but I don't hear anything.
They're usually more spirited.
Well,
during
this
the
area
day.
looks really actually kind of calm. We got a nice little outcropping of rocks here. We can sit against those, right against
Nice,
the beach.
nice.
There's very little brush to conceal dangerous, angry chickens.
Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want because they can sneak up on you.
This is a nice little area here.
Well, this is mating season, and I don't even hear the very aggressive whooping of the females.
Well, they're very tender lovers. They're
They
very
are.
tender lovers. They can be banging right next to you. You wouldn't even know it.
I think there is actually someone
There's a
watching
guy-
from over there.
There's a guy sitting there. Yeah,
Why do people always ruin all the things I want to do?
it's
I
weird
don't
that
know.
he would be out here in Restrepum Bay without clearance or whatever. But
That's true. This might be a violation.
check
He's
him
not
out,
moving at all.
What?
You there in the short pants?
boy.
Hey, dickhead!
Nothing.
Not a thing.
All right. Well,
Dickhead!
come on. Let's get
No,
him
all right,
out.
yeah.
Well, hell, he might need medical attention, I guess.
Are you awake?
Hello? Hello? Hello, dickhead! Throw a stick at him. Throw a stick.
Okay.
Throw a stick. Oh,
How did you?
that was amazing.
I hit him right in the forehead.
That was fucking crazy.
And it broke.
Ooh. What broke? With the stick or him? I
The
couldn't
stick.
tell.
He's not moving. Guys,
he's still-
we need to go down. I'm going to go down.
He's
I'm
probably
gonna go
passed
down.
out.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
go
let's
down.
go, let's
Hold
go.
up. Okay, all right.
We need to
Never a
snap
good
into
idea.
action. This man needs
All right, maybe
medical
he need-
attention, and we're the only people qualified.
But if he's dead, then we can just fish and worry about it later.
Wait a minute. Do we all know CPR here?
Oh yeah, God, yeah.
Yes.
I know
Absolutely.
CPR.
Oh, totally. It's what I do.
There's only one thing to do.
Let's roll.
Goddamn Cass Man Dirty and the motherfucking Fritz Man. Gonna save the goddamn day, yeah. Every goddamn motherfucking day, yeah. Give 'em a holla, they'll be there now. They got no job, yo. Watch out, good God, yo. Flipping over burning cars, CPR and topless bars. Don't hurt yourself. Flipping over burning cars, CPR and topless bars. And look at them go.
Let's go down there. Okay. You ever need to set up a triage center right over here? We got to get down. You check his blood pressure.
I'm
You
laying
look
down the
for
blanket.
any sort of contusions.
He's got
Sir, can you hear me? Sir,
Smack harder. You
pull
must
his
smack
pants
harder.
down. Pull his pants down.
Pull his
there's
pants
no
down,
blood
definitely.
pressure. There is no pulse.
What about his butt?
How is his blood pressure?
It's got to be like 150 over 2.
Dear God.
No, it's
That's
way
not good.
off. Oh, God, it's
Kaz,
off
put
the
your butt
chart.
where his butt is.
It's
Put your butt where his
most
butt is.
sensitive butt pressure machine there is.
This is the only way we can bring him back to life.
It's the only way.
This is the only thing we can
Absolutely no. I'm already doing it. You
do.
know.
Okay. Oh, look, you got a perfect seal. Okay, now breathe in the diaphragm.
All right.
Breathe. Okay, hold
Oh
it.
my God, no! He's 75 over 8.
Oh
This
my
is,
God.
guys.
There's no way we can save the butt, much less the man.
Also, he was not breathing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when I checked vitals, so I think he's dead.
Oh, that's... Well,
I mean, it was entertaining.
Okay, put
seeing
your
the
pants
butt
on,
to the
Kaz.
butt. Just wait there for a little bit.
I mean,
check his pockets.
Yeah, check his pockets. Yeah,
we should make sure.
What the fuck?
That's not a
Whoa.
game.
Who the hell?
fuck said that?
Wait a minute.
Who are you?
Pretty sure my name is Tammy?
Tammy?
Don't look like a Tammy to me. I've known some Tammys. You're definitely not one of them.
No, that feels right.
Wait, did you say Tammy or Timmy?
Tammy.
Tammy. Okay, all right.
Who are you and why are you here? And
He
do I
got-
have to
guys,
keep looking
he-
at you?
Has
Wait.
the same pair of pants on that I just took off of this dead man.
Those are
I'm
very
sitting. I'm
similar.
still sitting on the dead man.
Why did you take the pants off, by the way? To
This is
seal
get
the
seal
butt?
butt pressure.
I'm just making sure.
Leave the pants off. I'm pretty sure that dead man is Tammy.
You mean
Which is
that's-
me.
That's
That
you.
was a weird way to put that. Sorry.
So you are the dead person.
You are the dead person, or the dead person is you?
Out with it, Tammy.
I honestly I don't remember.
Do you remember dying?
Vaguely. I'm not sure really what happened. Maybe poison?
Do you remember being alive at one point?
No.
As a living man, did you have any hobbies or friends?
Fishing, no friends. No friends. Not for a long time.
Yeah, because he was a fisherman.
His
Most
name
fishermen
was
don't.
Tammy, a fisherman.
Tammy.
So you're the person that we're looking at here that's dead, and you're the dead person, and the dead person is you, and you vaguely remember dying.
Well, so maybe you can, Main Daddy, help out Tammy over here. Maybe rifle through the guy's pockets that are laying next to Kaz.
All right. I'll check this out. Looking.
What do you see? What do you see? Oh, that's big. What is that?
That's a really old cell phone. That's
Okay.
It's like one of the ones you see from like
Wow, that
Fresh
is
Prince
old.
of Bel-Air type thing. You
All
know?
right.
Don't look in the browser history. That was a joke.
Not a good one.
He's got a
Okay,
dry sense of humor. this
And
guy,
I
Tammy.
got a wallet, and there's definitely no money. Nope. And there's no money in the wallet at all.
Main Daddy, I think you dropped the dollar over there.
Oh no, that the dollar was his. The dollar was his. It's the all the other ones. Those were mine.
But you're putting it. Okay.
Okay, no,
that's
it's
fine.
fine. It's fine.
There's something else fell out of here.
Yeah, not a credit card either. It's
piece of
definitely not a
paper.
credit card.
There's a word on here. It's my Italian's a little rusty, but
You know Italian?
Why am I here?
dimenticare.
Just by using the accent doesn't mean that's how you say it. You know that's not
actually
by
exactly
learning
how that means.
learning Italian doesn't mean learning an Italian accent. Now you know the
Why
language.
am I still
No,
alive?
I do. It looks like it's printed. It's not
Let me see that.
it's not written, right? That's like a book. That looks like it's ripped out of a book. Yeah.
It actually says it that way. That's really weird.
I
don't know
told
how
you,
a
'cause I could
paper
read
can
Italian.
see that.
Wait, hold on,
Look
give
at
me this
it.
thing.
Look at the damn thing.
It means forget
Yeah, there's no pictures in there.
in Italian.
Yeah. Okay. So it says what in Italian?
Forget.
Okay. What?
Tammy
I missed this.
is a forgetful dead person.
That
And
forgot they're dead.
He's got. I mean, or maybe his forgetfulness caused his death.
Oh, maybe he's trapped in limbo.
Ooh.
Like Gina Davis in Beetlejuice.
Absolutely.
See, think of it as like a Gina Davis thing.
You look awful.
Yeah. You
This is
don't
pretty
look
bad.
good.
This guy's-
You,
this
you
is
look like you'd
reminding
be
me-
better dead.
This is reminding me heavily of. Have you guys ever heard of the Tamam Shud case?
Bless you.
Tamam Shud. This is possibly one of the fucking coolest things that I have read about, and it's unfortunate. It's about a dead man.
Are they always?
But the intrigue.
No offense. No offense.
No, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Tammy, this is we're trying to get to the bottom of this. I'm helping you out with this one.
Thank you.
So the Tamam Shud case, or the mystery of the Sommerset Man, and I'm going to be reading heavily from the Wikipedia article, which sounds a little bit cheap, but I did an extensive bit of research on this, and this is one of the most
On
concise and like perfectly paced articles that like describes this thing.
Did you say Mystery of Summerland Man?
Somerton, Somerton.
Sommerset Man.
Sommerton Man, because he was found on December 1st, 1948, on Somerton Beach in Glenlegg, just south of Adelaide, South Australia.
Oh, mate.
The Tamam Shud, the reference to that comes from the Persian phrase, which was printed on a scrap of paper found months later in the pocket of the man's trousers. The scrap had been torn from the final page of a copy of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, authored by 12th century poet Omar Khayyam. Following the public appeal, someone actually came out and was able to locate a copy of this relatively rare book that had a piece of this paper torn out of it. And on the back cover, they were able to start doing some sleuthing and found some indentations, and it led down this sort of rabbit hole. It's one of the most mysterious, I guess, cold cases in Australia's history, and kind of goes in several different directions that you're not expecting. So, 1948, 6:30 a.m., the police were contacted about a man dead on Somerton Beach. He was found lying in the sand across from an orphanage and a couple of people said that they saw him lying with his back resting against a seawall, his legs extended in front of him, and
Just
his
like
feet
Tammy.
crossed.
Yeah.
It was believed that he died while sleeping. An unlit cigarette was on the right collar of his coat. So if you imagine, like, he was just like that.
Mm-hmm.
A search of his pockets revealed an unused second-class rail ticket from Adelaide to Henley Beach, a bus ticket from that city that could not be proved to have been used, a narrow aluminum American comb, half a packet of Juicy Fruit chewing gum, an Army Club cigarette packet containing 7 different cigarettes of different brands,
That's
and
weird.
a quarter full box of Bryant and May matches. They basically said they thought maybe he was a drunk man who fell asleep on the beach, but they realized that something was wrong because apparently the mosquitoes are insane on that beach, and he was getting destroyed by them, and they figured that there's no way that guy is alive. He's being, like, swarmed.
Well, would they go after dead animals as well? Like,
I
you
don't
would
know how
think
that works.
If the blood isn't being pumped,
I guess
then-
it was freshly dead, you know,
Yeah,
if
that's
it's still
true.
at the surface. Hell, I'm sure. But after they end up looking like grapes on him because they're just enjoying being there.
Pathologist John Burton Cleland said the man was of Britisher appearance and thought to be of age around 40 to 45.
We all know what he means by that, too. You can see it. You're like, oh, yeah, totally.
He was in top physical condition, 180 centimeters, which is about 5'11", tall, with gray eyes and fair to ginger-colored hair, slightly gray around the temples, broad shoulders, narrow waist, and hands and nails that showed no signs of manual labor, big and little toes that met in a wedge shape like those of a dancer or someone who wore boots with pointed toes,
Okay, now it's
pronounced
getting specific.
pronounced high calf muscles like those of a ballet dancer. These could be dormant genetic traits, but they are also characteristics of many long-distance runners and various athletes.
They're impressed by this guy.
Right? I was going to say, he kind of sounds hot.
Deep
like,
blue eyes that you get lost in for hours
and
at
just
a time.
runner's
Crystalline.
calves that you could just, like, grate cheese onto your
Soft,
salad.
supple skin that you just want to fall asleep on.
All labels on the clothes had been removed, and he had no hat, which was apparently unusual for 1948, or a
That was
wallet.
like the headline, Hatless Corpse Found.
Shock horror. The body was clean-shaven, carried no identification, which led police to believe he had committed suicide. His teeth did not match the dental records of any living known person that they had access to, and the coroner, Cleveland, remarked that if the body had been carried to its final resting place, then all difficulties would disappear. Which, I guess from his end, the investigation, he'd be able to explain it if he could say that it was carried there, but it didn't appear that. The autopsy was conducted, and the pathologist estimated the time of death around 2 a.m. on December 1st. There was blood mixed with the food in the stomach, both the kidneys were congested, and the liver contained a great excess of blood in the vessels. The spleen was strikingly large, about 3 times the normal size, and there was a destruction in the center of the liver. Autopsy shown that his last meal was a pasty eaten 3 to 4 hours before his death, and they could not they couldn't conclude that the pasty contained anything that would have caused this.
However, his suicide note said, "I should have eaten the fish."
Pasty too heavy for death on beach.
Hashtag too pasty, too heavy for
life. Pathologist Dwyer concluded, "I am quite convinced the death could not have been natural. The poison I suggested was a barbiturate or a soluble hypnotic. Although poisoning was remained as prime suspicion, the pasty was not to believe to be the source of the poison. Other than that, the coroner was unable to reach a conclusion as to the man's identity or cause of death, or whether the man seen alive at Somerton Beach on the evening of November 30th was the same man that people had seen earlier. People talked about seeing a man jogging, essentially a smartly dressed man jogging on the beach.
Fashion was everything back then.
Oh, yeah.
Evidently,
like,
man.
it's like
Man
number
doesn't
one.
have a hat on.
Yeah, this guy doesn't
At
have a hat.
least.
Number 2, manhunt underway for man with 2 hats. It's like that's the next headline, the logical conclusion. A guy just runs home, sirens blaring. He like closes the front door, looks at his wife, and goes, "Burn my hats, all of them."
January, so about a month later, the staff of the Adelaide rail station discovered a brown suitcase with its label removed, which had been checked into the station cloakroom the morning before the man was found.
So someone's also removing labels from clothing.
It's interesting.
Really into it, too.
In the case were a red checked dressing gown, a size 7 red felt pair of slippers, 4 pairs of underpants, pajamas, shaving items, a light brown pair of trousers with sand in the cuffs, an electrician's screwdriver, a table knife cut down into a sharp instrument, a pair of scissors with sharpened points, a stenciling brush used by third officers on merchant ships for stenciling cargo. Also in the suitcase was a thread card of Barber brand orange waxed thread of an unusual type not found in Australia. It was the same type that was used to repair the lining of the pockets in the trousers that the dead man was wearing. So that's how they were able to identify that this stuff was his stuff. All the identification marks on the clothes had been removed. The police found the name T. Keene on a tie, Keene on a laundry bag, and Keene without the last E on a signet, along with 3 dry cleaning marks. Police believe that whoever removed the clothing tags specifically left the Keene tags on the clothing, knowing that the Keene was not the dead man's name. With wartime rationing still enforced, clothing was difficult to acquire at the time, and although it was common practice to put name tags on your stuff, it was also common when buying secondhand clothing to remove the tags. There was no T. Keene missing in any English-speaking country, and a nationwide circulation of the dry cleaning marks also proved to be fruitless. Police checked train records. They speculated that the man got to the port of Augusta, showered and shaved around 10:50 a.m. Then he purchased a ticket to Henley Beach for whatever reason he didn't use. He immediately checked the suitcase in at the station cloakroom before leaving the station and catching a city bus to Glenlegg. Upon a re-examination, John Burton Cleland noted that the man's shoes were remarkably clean and appeared to have been polished, rather than being in a state expected of a man who had been wandering the beach of Glenlegg all day.
They are impressed by this dude, man.
He added that evidence.
He had high calves.
He was a perfect Adonis, only
so
dead.
Sharp dressed. He added evidence that fitted in with the theory that the body might have been brought to Somerton Beach after the man's death, accounting for the lack of evidence of vomiting and convulsions, which would be the 2 main effects of the poison theory. That there's no evidence of him seizing and passing out or whatever from a poison.
Well, also they found beach sand, right, in one of his suitcases.
They found sand in the cuffs.
Sand,
of
so
one
it could
of
have
the
been. They probably didn't have DNA testing to find out what sand it was.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what the sand detection was like in 1948. Cedric Stanton Hicks, a professor of physiology and pharmacology at the University of Adelaide, tested that a group of drug variants that he called number 1 and in particular number 2 were extremely toxic and relatively small oral doses, and that it would be difficult, if not impossible, to identify it if it had been given to a suspect. The names were not released to the public, as at the time they were, quote, quite easily procurable by the ordinary individual from a chemist without the need for a reason. The drugs were later publicly identified as Digitalis and Ouabain.
Ouabain.
Ouabain. Ouabain. So basically, they couldn't, from investigating the body or the stuff that they found, conclude who the fuck this guy was, or what killed him, or how he ended up in this like perfectly polished position, very clean, sitting in this rock outcropping. So around the same time as they were doing the reinvestigation, they found the printed piece of paper with Tamam Shud printed on it. Public library officials were called in to identify it. They say that it means ended or finished.
Well, seems
Found
right.
on the last page of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. The other side of the paper was blank. Police conducted an Australia-wide search to find a copy of the book that had a similar piece torn out. A photograph of the scrap of paper was released to the press. A man named who ended up going by the pseudonym Ronald Francis, who didn't want to be identified, basically came out and said that he knew where the book was, or he had this book that they removed the piece of paper from, basically. And it was like, oh, well, how do we know? So they were able to actually do like microscopic check and make sure that like the tear is matched up, and it was like from the same fiber of the paper or whatever. So it was true.
Was it always missing, or did he open up one day and said, "Hey, where's my Tamam Shud?"
I don't know. I don't know that the he still had the book.
Well, that's what I meant. But I mean, by the scrap. Was it? Did he buy the book? He was like, "Damn, this book has no Tamam Shud."
I don't know.
One day he's like, "My Tamam Shud's gone."
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I don't think it was like the last piece. It was just like a word in this book. It was ripped out.
Okay.
The man reached out, said he found the book that matches the thing. The cops show up, and then on the back of the book, they find that there are like indentions from somebody writing something on the back of the book. A telephone number, an unidentified number, and a text that resembled an encrypted message. So the encryption is basically gibberish. It's
that's all. That always works.
Yeah, it's just, but it is English I guess Latin characters, right? It is WRGOABAD. So interestingly,
why did you pick those particular?
That's the top because that's at the top of the encryption.
That's what it says.
Okay. WRGOABABD.
I thought you were just picking out random ones to say what the alphabet is.
Yeah, those are alphabets.
Those are my favorite letters.
The second line had been struck out, which was considered significant because then it's repeated essentially on the fourth line. So they think that's how you can that's the key, is something got messed up in that second line that he struck out and then had to like rewrite it.
Nice.
So they've had several code breakers. Code experts were called in to decipher. Everything's been unsuccessful. An unlisted telephone number was also in the back of the book, belonging to a nurse named Jessica Ellen Joe Thomas, who was born in 1921, died in 2007. Born Jessie Harkness in the Sydney suburb of Merrickville.
So this all relates to actual people?
Yes. She lived in Moseley, Glenelg, about 400 meters north of where the body was found. So they find this book. They find a telephone number on the back of the book. Telephone number refers to a woman who lives 1,300 feet north of where the body was found. When she was interviewed by police, Thompson said she did not know the dead man. She said she didn't know why the dead man would have her phone number and chose to visit her on the suburb on the night of his death. However, she also reported that sometime in late 1948, an unidentified man had attempted to visit her and asked a next-door neighbor about her. In his book about the case, Gary Feltus says that he interviewed Thompson. He found that she was either being evasive or that she just didn't want to talk about it. Oh. Feltus believed Thompson knew Sommerset Man's identity. Thompson's daughter, Kate, in a television interview on 60 Minutes, also said that she believed her mother knew the dead man. In 1949, Jessica Thomas requested the police not keep a permanent record of her name or release details to third parties, as it would be embarrassing and harmful to her reputation to be linked. The police agreed, a decision that hampered later investigations. They made a plaster cast of his face because
he was just so damn
he was
hot.
so handsome.
It was so hot. We had to keep this for posterity.
When she was shown the plaster bust of the dead man by Detective Sergeant Lean Thompson, she said she could not identify the person depicted. According to Lean, he described her reaction upon seeing the cast as completely taken aback to the point of giving the appearance that she was about to faint.
Whoa.
In an interview many years later, Paul Lawson, the technician who made the cast and was present when Thompson viewed it, noted after looking at the bust, she immediately looked away and would not look back.
Really? So it looked just like him?
There's no way she didn't know.
She goes in and she's like, I don't know who this is. And then they show her like, oh, do you don't know who this is? And
She's shocked.
Looks away and just like won't look back. Thompson said that while she was working in the Royal North Shore Hospital in Sydney during World War II, she owned a copy of the Rubaiyat, that book. Oh. In 1945, at the Clifton Gardens Hotel, she had given it to an Army lieutenant named Alf Boxall, who was serving at the time in the water transport section of the Royal Australian Engineers. Thompson told police that after the war ended, she moved to Melbourne and married, and she said that she had relieved a letter from Boxall, and she replied telling him that she was now married and not interested. There's no evidence that Boxall had any contact with Harkness after 1945. So they're saying that maybe she made this up, the story of her dealing with this guy. So they find this guy, Alf Boxall. He's working at a bus depot somewhere else in Australia, and he had a copy of the book that she had signed and like written out a verse of. This is the verse that she highlighted. Indeed, repentance oft before. I swore, but I was sober when I swore. And then came spring, and rose in hand, my threadbare penitence a pieces tore. So there's this weird
tore piece.
Mm-hmm.
There's weird
sober, right?
Symbolism and stuff going on. There is speculation that Alf Boxall was a spy for the Australian intelligence or the British intelligence during World War II. They, in fact, asked him during an interview, Mr. Boxall, you had been working, hadn't you, in an intelligence unit before you met this young woman, Jessica Harkness. Did you talk to her at all about that? And Boxall says no. And when asked if Harkness could have known something about it, he replies, not unless somebody told her. So he agrees that he was in it, but that he hadn't told anyone about this. When Littlemore suggested the interview that there could have been espionage connected to the Sommerset Man, Boxall replies, that's quite a melodramatic thesis, isn't it? This is a bus depot mechanic guy who is now just for some reason hanging out in this weird city in Australia. His copy of the book that had the page torn out, it wasn't the same one that had the page torn out, but it was his copy of this same book that this dead man has a scrap of in his pocket that they find 1,300 feet from this woman who says she doesn't know anything about any of it.
So it's this microcosm of strange.
Right.
It's a love triangle that the bitch won't admit to. No offense to bitches. You know, I mean, it's all just seems to point towards that, kind of.
Yeah, kind of, but I mean,
but like, how would any of these normal people have killed any of them with this like untraceable poison?
It was easy to find, and the one guy was deep military.
He did know, yeah, that's true.
You know, that's where they probably teach you how to do that shit. You're very welcome. Case solved.
So even years after they buried the man, flowers began appearing on the grave. They questioned a woman who was seen leaving the cemetery. She claimed to know nothing about him. One of the railway workers came out with a story where they had seen a strange man visiting the the Sommerset Man in his train car, and he was English speaking and only carrying a small black case, not unlike one a musician or a doctor might carry.
Interesting.
This story was covered several times. In fact, recently on like 60 Minutes, and they had like a little mini documentary on it. And it's all extremely interesting, and it's difficult to go into like all the different nuance of who these people were and what connection they end up having to the Sommerset Man. But suffice it to say that you should look it up, because again, it was going to be difficult to jam it into this amount of time. But dead guy, scrap of paper in his pocket that says "ended," 1,300 feet from a woman's house, who has her telephone number written on the back of a book that piece of paper was removed from. So yeah, and then we've got some random bus mechanic somewhere who has the similar copy of the book and has very clinical Australian salty answers for what was going on during that time. Attempts to use modern DNA to identify him have kind of failed because they used formaldehyde to embalm him, so it's kind of screwed a lot of stuff up. But they were able to salvage hair follicles from the plaster bust that they had created that had been pulled out of his skin.
Yeah, his death mask.
Right. So
hot death mask.
So hot.
They hope that at some point, if they're able to cross-reference the DNA with someone, they can find out who it is. There's different reports as to who it might be. Several people have come forward and said it's my dad or my son or whatever.
But it's going to be a long-ranging Australian mystery.
Yeah, it's definitely something that is extremely winding and strange.
So what's your story? I mean, does any of that ring a bell?
Is
you
there
have
some
no
chick
answers.
around here and some? There's obviously another handsome guy involved, because you ain't that in this story.
Jesus
okay?
Christ.
Are my calves that
What's
nice?
pull his pants down further?
not
Let me
at
check
all.
his calves.
Check my
No.
calves.
They look good.
Please.
I mean, they look passable. Other
They're
than
not
that,
dancer calves.
Yeah, they're
Tell you that
definitely
much,
You
they
wanna
are
see
not
some
dancer
calves?
calves. No,
They're
no,
right
no,
here.
Turn around.
I got them. No,
Look at that right there.
You don't
Those
want to see
pop.
these things.
Whoa,
You don't.
whoa,
Just like
whoa.
They've got noses.
What?
My calves have noses?
What?
That's really bizarre. I apologize to myself now.
That's actually terrifying.
Tight
It
calves.
is, yeah.
You are a mysterious dead man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put the pants back on the dead version of you.
Thank you.
And you can keep your pants on.
Thank
and then I
you.
think we should get to the bottom of this. Let's start searching around. Right? There's probably he died. We can CSI this. We can figure out.
Yeah, looks like we're the only ones here. It hasn't been completely contaminated yet.
Let's take a quick break first, though, because I'm kind of
Yeah, all right.
I'm a little thirsty.
I'm gonna take a quick break. We're gonna hit some gravy water, and we're gonna CSI the fuck out of this place. You're listening to Fort Fritz.
Get ready, Tammy.
It's goddamn Cass, man, daddy, and the motherfucking Fritz man. Gonna save the goddamn day, yeah. Every goddamn motherfucking day, yeah. Always keep a few loose bills in your pockets. In your most vulnerable time of need, they will rob from you. They got no motherfucking jaws after all. Yeah.
3, 4, 5. Now that's 5 paces away from the body.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paces this way. Man, Daddy, hold up the mirror.
There you go.
Okay, triangulating now should be this way. This way.
That looks right.
Tammy, do you remember where you were when you died?
Over in that grass by the rocks.
Probably where your dead
Right
body
there?
is.
Right where the
Yeah,
where the
that's
corpse is. Where the corpse
actually,
is.
we're looking at it.
Walking.
We got
5
that.
I love
paces
science.
this way. Yep.
He knows his
all
paces are completely uneven. It's like one is like
Shut
3
up, man,
feet,
Daddy.
one is like a hop, and it just he doesn't.
All right, well, that's a full square now. So we need
this
to
is-
figure out.
You're trying to triangulate a square, aren't you?
I just did. I made 2 triangles.
Okay, that would work then. So
Thank
you're
you.
doubling up your research. I like that. That's
oh, yeah.
good.
Yeah, you always have to double track what you tracked.
No, otherwise you're just tracking.
You just track them one time.
What are you, a fool?
Did you have any kind of headache? How were you feeling? How was the day?
The last thing I remember is my tummy feeling kind of upset.
Oh, no, you had a bad
you have a
tummy.
bad
Tummies.
tum-tum.
The tummies, huh? Poison?
Why is it always
Potentially.
poison with you,
I mean,
Kaz?
because poison is,
Poison is bad tummy stuff.
it gives you tummies and it gives you dying death when it doesn't look like dying death should have happened.
This is all adding up.
Is it really?
The math checks out.
I've got a clipboard, so
Well, I'm putting on the medical gloves. Let's do it.
Oh, look at that. He's all pro.
let's get some samples.
We're gonna of the corpse.
No, of the ghost. Yes, of the corpse.
There we go. I think I make the first kind of mark across.
Jeez, you're gonna split them open.
Oh,
Huh?
yeah.
I thought
I'm
we
going
were
to do an
doing the
autopsy.
stomach.
You're just gonna cut him right down the
Let's get
center.
a little blood first. Oh my!
Oh God!
God,
Damn, dude! Take your time, man. Be a little more discreet, a little more delicate. It's like you're ripping open a hog carcass.
God, the rib cage is it's a very tough bone to break through.
God, he's using his feet and pulling up like he's trying to remove a nail from a board. Oh, dude, it's getting everywhere. Back up a little bit. Back up. He's really digging this too much, man.
What's it like to see your own body? Like,
Yeah, this is pretty rough. I was really hoping to use that again.
Do you have
It
anything?
looks like he's turned on a little bit.
What was hurting you besides your tummy? I'm knee deep in your stomach right now. There's nothing wrong with it.
Should you be stepping on it like
No, well, no.
You know, I've had a bad knee for a while.
Bad knee. Here we go.
Oh, God! He just chopped his fucking leg right off, dude. And he's tossing in there. He caught it.
I got your kneecap.
Yeah,
Kneecap looks bad, man.
Yeah, because he just chopped it off.
No, but this looks bad. Look at it. It's got a vascular
finger in it.
necrosis.
I don't think that's what killed me.
No, never would kill you. No, never. Anything else?
Some bursitis in the elbow, maybe.
Yeah, your arm, maybe? Yeah? Yeah, you want me to chop your arm off?
What? No.
Should I chop the arm off, Kaz?
you just poke him and get some blood. Chop it off. Yeah.
I want to use the blood. No.
Here's the good news. I have a blood sample, okay?
Yeah, we all have it. It's
That's
all
a-
over us.
Everywhere.
That's a bucket.
Yeah, like I was at a
That's a
Guar
bucket.
show over here.
It does look a little like blood for sure.
Oh, yeah,
you
because it
see
came
this?
from the corpse.
What's floating there at the top? Look at
Oh,
that.
what the fuck,
Ugh.
dude?
It's
Tammy, what's in your blood?
It looks like cottage cheese
what
or
are you
something.
fucking?
I
Dude,
do like cottage cheese.
Yeah. You eat
Are you
a-
shooting
I eat
it?
a lot
Are
of
you
it.
freebasing? Are you like speedballing
straight
cottage cheese?
into your veins?
Just like any way you can eat cheese, I eat cottage
That's
cheese.
not eating it though. That's doing it.
It looks like you're grating garlic into your blood system.
Yeah, it smells like it
Cottage
too.
cheese. Yeah.
It's
Like a
protein.
Mario Batali fart in here.
That's it.
What's wrong, dude? He seems a little concerned.
Dude,
whoa!
blood sample. That's our.
Why are you
sample.
throwing it away? Why'd you throw that
was
perfectly
gross.
good arm away?
It's
I mean,
best.
it's disgusting. But why'd you throw it away?
It's best to get rid of that blood, I'll tell you that much.
Why?
Why?
You guys don't know anything about Gloria Ramirez, do you?
I think I went to high school with her.
Gloria Ramirez, how should I say this delicately? She was she presented at a hospital and pretty much got the entire hospital sick
Ooh.
with the condition of her body.
Ooh.
Early in the year 1994, so this was February, Gloria Ramirez was by then in the late stages of a very aggressive metastatic cervical cancer.
Ooh.
And in fact, 6 weeks before that February 19th, she had unspecified ailments, painful ailments, but she had not been diagnosed with any specific form of cancer. However, at Riverside General Hospital, 8:15 at night, paramedics said Ramirez presented with severe confusion, a fast heart rate, which is tachycardia, and a belabored breathing pattern called Shane-Stokes respiration. Shane-Stokes is basically taking in a belabored, heavy breath anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes per cycle with deeper and deeper breaths, sometimes shallow, sometimes really heavy. So that's pretty much death.
Yeah.
This person is dying.
Knocking on the door.
It could
Knocking
be
on the door.
congenital heart failure. So Gloria Ramirez was administered to the intensive care unit and placed on oxygen, while also given sedatives such as lorazepam or Ativan and diazepam or Valium. So she was
Good time.
heavily sedated to care for her well-being in addition to the people she could be lashing out at. At no point in this entire endeavor did Ramirez react positively to the treatment. So the paramedics and staff immediately had to do something else. So they defibrillated her heart. Blood was drawn by a registered nurse. Her name was Susan Kane. And Ramirez, the victim at this point, was observed to have an oily glow about her entire body. This
No one
oily
wants that.
No. This oily sheen. She looked like she was covered with a moisturizer. Following this entire event with the oxygen, the defib on her heart, the blood,
She got greasy.
it was really weird, right?
This patient is getting really greasy. Is it just me, or is she like really greasy?
She went from dying to like professional wrestling. Like she was like ready, like baby oil ready to go.
Makes me think of on The Simpsons when Homer leans into the guy at the fry counter. My God, you're greasy.
The blood-filled syringe that Susan Kane drew from her smelled abnormal. It had a very specific ammoniacal odor. So it's this
Ammoniacal.
ammonia-like odor. The syringe was then passed to Julie Gorchinsky, a medical resident, to do further testing, cholesterol.
I thought you were just going to say, smell this.
Right.
To do a sniff test.
You smell this syringe, doctor?
Gorchinsky noted a very specific and off quality to the tube in that they were manila bits floating.
Manila or vanilla?
Manila Bit sounds like a really good cereal.
Floating in. It was like almond. It was like almond crunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best part of a breakfast.
Manila Bits.
Yep, Special K. So, like, in her blood, at the same time, Susan Kane, who actually drew that blood sample, faints. She totally passes out, and mere seconds before, Gorchinsky walks to the nurse's station complaining of shortness of breath. Gorchinsky also passes out as a third nurse exits the room before fainting as well.
Damn.
So now this is 3 people fainting. After 45 minutes of CPR, Ramirez is pronounced dead at 8:50. So she came in at 8:15. And 35 minutes later, she's dead. During that time, though, the entire hospital was sent outside. Only a skeleton crew stayed behind to look after Ramirez. 23 people were treated for nausea,
Jesus,
difficulty breathing, or anxiety, as you would hope they were treated for that. Of those 23, 5 were admitted to the hospital.
Wow.
The body was then placed in a hazmat-like situation in an aluminum coffin. A total of 3 autopsies were performed. The first just 6 days after her death in February 1994. The second 6 weeks later. And then the third was performed on a greatly decomposed body at 10 weeks.
Ooh. And they had to be wearing like moon suits when they went in there, like, the whole diver mask and everything. There's no way you get near that damn thing.
Was it Outbreak? With Dustin Hoffman?
Oh, yeah.
Is that the one with the monkey, with the Ebola?
That's always with the monkey.
It always is.
Always starts with the monkey.
So there has been much speculation. They think that heart failure was a corresponding factor with kidney failure, so kidney failure might have shut down the entire heart. But there has been speculation, though, as to the true cause of this weird medical phenomenon. The entire staff working on Ramirez that night fell ill. Something has to be up. The Department of Health and Human Services placed 2 scientists on the case who interviewed over 30 hospital workers. Those who were at higher risk, those who actually drew the blood, interacted with bodily fluids. This woman was dying of advanced metastatic cervical cancer. She could have been hemorrhaging at any time, vomiting. Those who were at higher risk, they all showed normal blood work, and they all seemed fine. Those afflicted were primarily women, so it was classified, no shit, as a mass hysteria event. This is really funny.
Women's be crazy.
Since hysteria, after all, derives from the Greek word for uterus.
I thought it was for Def Leppard.
You read the wrong Revolver magazine.
Damn it.
Julie Gorchinsky, on the other hand, said, fuck completely off that bullshit. I contracted out of the blue hepatitis. I also had a vascular necrosis in my motherfucking knees, asshole. So explain that.
Damn.
A vascular necrosis, by the way, is death of bone tissue due to a disruption in the blood supply.
Interesting.
And even then, males are more commonly affected than women. Once a third party was called in on behest of the family, who, and this is so sad, Gloria Ramirez was being dubbed the toxic lady. 6 weeks before this, she didn't even know she has cancer. Now she has cancer. She's dying. So,
but she's got a cool name now, so, I mean, at least that.
A third party was called in, and it was postulated that dimethyl sulfoxide, a very powerful degreaser in gel form, was rubbed all over her body.
Just getting freaky.
And it may have been Gloria's self-medicated way to deal with the pain of advanced stage cervical cancer. Dimethyl sulfoxide has been marketed as an alternative cancer drug since at least the 1960s. This was 94.
That wolf guy? Is that wolf guy that's on Facebook all the time that's telling people to, like, eat crystals and live off nothing but water?
Yeah. And stay away from these 5 foods, and it's like the most delicious ones.
No, it's Ron Popeil.
Ron Popeil?
No, he's the one that made the rotisserie.
Yeah, that's the thing that, like, cures your cancer.
Rotisserie chicken cures cancer?
The Ron Popeil oven does, yeah.
Dimethyl sulfoxide, which is also known as DMSO, had been marketed as an alternative cancer drug since at least the 1960s. In 1994, she was 31, so she was born in 63, and it was already proven by the FDA to be carcinogenic in high doses starting in 1965. by the time she was just a little kid, maybe she didn't know about it because, at this time, the internet wasn't a thing until the mid-90s. There was no internet back in '94, right?
No. I mean,
there was no WebMD.
Yeah, there wasn't anything like that. There was rudimentary internet, but not like
you had to have like
explosion.
the add-on of AOL, the WebMD, like
exactly.
additional disc,
or you had to go to a BBS,
the Rumble Pack.
Rumble Pack on AOL.
Any kind of cure-all potion for pain that included DMSO, and again, in these like black market, like a
Tiger Balm or whatever,
snake oil salesman. Yeah, it was always around 5%. She was buying 99% proof degreaser
going in
restaurant quality.
That's like how a fucking Batman villain starts, right? Like,
yeah,
that's about it. She just didn't make it to the next scene. The next scene would have been badass, but she just didn't quite get there.
It was found early on to have a profound deleterious effect on eyesight, made people blind. It's a developmental neurotoxin. It destroys brain pathways. DMSO can cause drugs to more rapidly absorb into the skin.
Ooh.
So if she was doing 99%, that's really dangerous. It may also create adverse drug interactions. But nevertheless, this drug is still frequently found in black market cancer panaceas. So you still find this. Dimethyl sulfoxide, when interacting with oxygen, and this is what the pathologist tried to prove in a peer-reviewed paper that was well-received at the time. Dimethyl sulfoxide, when interacting with oxygen, of course, that was the first thing that paramedics and ER staff put you on, was suspected as a culprit because it turns out when interacting with oxygen creates from dimethyl sulfoxide dimethyl sulfone, which crystallizes at room temperature. So when the blood was taken out of her body, that was evidence that this DMSO was changing. It had seeped so far
into her blood and then was
into her body. It was crystallizing at room temperature. So when Gorchinsky, who was the second nurse, saw the manila floating bits in the drawn blood, that might check out. And then electric shocks from the defibrillator
just activated it.
Might have then changed dimethyl sulfone into dimethyl sulfate, which is an extremely toxic gas and has a slight onion smell.
Science!
But if you were to ever smell it, you are already poisoned. Yeah, you're done.
And what you got? It's in your nose. It's in you.
I got the manila bits.
Kill me!
I can feel it in my face.
So these theories, and they are just theories, they pretty much figured out exactly what was happening, but they could never replicate that. So again, for 6 weeks, she could have been just permeating her inner organs to the point
degreaser
where she was absolutely,
a bomb,
toxic,
like a bomb.
And I don't want to say that toxic lady, but she was actually creating this environment where she had no chance of surviving. And of course, she presented at the hospital with belabored breathing, confusion, tachycardia, fast heart rate. So yeah, she was already on the way out. However, these theories, while very close to what was happening, they have never been confirmed, replicated, nor advanced any further. And nurses didn't say her blood smelled like onions, only like what?
Ammonia. Cottage cheese.
So Gloria Ramirez did not, in conclusion, did not deserve the awful end to her tragically short life. And she certainly doesn't deserve to be called the toxic lady.
Agreed. That's great. That's true. She could have been called the woman who killed everybody.
The woman who made some people pass out.
The woman who made everybody sick.
And gave a lady bad knees, too.
The woman who killed another woman's knees by using bad blood.
How about this? The woman who took everyone's breath away.
Nice spin.
There's other ways
to
do it.
You spin
it.
Yeah.
So, Tammy, what spin would you like on your death? Have you figured out which way you'd like to go?
We've mutilated
honestly, I'm pretty sad after what I've witnessed.
You should be.
You guys want to just kind of get away from this? It's kind of
oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was inside of his body the whole time.
Yeah, you were. You're just laying in
wash
there.
up a little bit
You were like snuggling in.
Yeah,
like
you're
it
using
was
his
like a
rib
tauntaun.
cage, like a recliner, kind of. Is kind of disturbing.
Oh, I'm covered in his blood.
Yeah, there's a lot of viscera and a lot of gore.
I feel really sticky.
A lot of cottage cheese, actually.
And I feel faint. Okay, I gotta go. Yeah, I gotta go.
Let's take a walk. I'll walk away from this. Let's walk down the beach a little bit. Clear our heads. put this together. So we got Tammy, and we chopped the shit out of him.
Yeah, we hacked the hell out of him, actually.
But I mean, the ghost part of him is cool. It's kind of like Gina Davis. He's not as hot as Gina Davis, but
this is true.
Any DMSO or Tiger Bomb or anything like that, or Noxzema?
Just cottage cheese.
Just cottage cheese, evidently. Yeah.
I have my special skin cottage cheese if you'd like that.
don't
No, stay away from it. Stay away from
any
it.
of the.
No, yeah, stop doing that. Stop doing that. I can smell it over here, and it's not good.
Just get out of there. Just do sand. Do sand.
Get back in the water. Get back in the water. Get back in the water.
Rub the sand.
Now rub around the sand.
Now the cottage cheese.
Now get the sand right in your eyes. Get the sand right in your eyes. There you go. The burning means it's working. The burning means it's working. There you go.
It's soaking up all of the
sand.
burn.
Eat the sand. Yeah, it's soaking. That's why you don't have enough sand in there. There you go. There you go. Just a little. There you go. There you go. It's really good. Work it in. Work it. It's like the scrubbing bubbles, but at your face. Just go for it. Drink the seawater. Drink all the seawater. Just do that. Take a
That's
big
gonna
gulp
get.
of
That's
seawater.
easy. You're gonna kill him like Tammy. We don't want another ghost.
No,
version
he
of-
can take it. We know this guy's resilient as shit.
I
Look
can
at
see
him.
more now. It's
Let's,
mostly out. It hurts. God, it hurts.
I'm
Like
grossed
sandpaper
out.
eyelids.
I'm grossed out. I can smell the cottage cheese, and I can the whole thing is grossing me out. I'm gonna
Can
walk.
you hear
I'm
my
gonna walk
sandpaper
away.
eyelids
Walk
in my
away.
microphone?
You guys, let's come with me.
Okay.
Okay,
I wanna,
where are you?
I'm
I'm following you
down
because
the
I'm
beach.
done with this dude.
I'm down the beach. I'm walking, and I'm done.
My body's destroyed. It's gruesome.
It was never very good to begin with.
Yeah,
You guys said the calves were nice.
No, we said they're passable.
That's not what I remember.
I mean, if we're going to clean them up, we're going to need a spatula and a bag.
Yeah,
I
there's
mean, it's not-
like I don't know what we're gonna do. I thought my ghost might go back in my body.
No, you're still standing here talking to us and shit.
You think that would be a pleasant return home? No, that would be pain.
Well, now
That would be pain and misery. Look at you.
Just like pick up a part of yourself and like rub it into you and see if like you go in that way.
pick up
or-
that piece there and see if does it.
It's
Do you
like
like
a-
quantum leap back in or something?
There you
How do
go.
you feel?
You
Is
can't,
Ziggy-
you can't even pick it up.
I can't even
Twiggy.
pick it up. Ziggy, was it Twiggy or
You
Ziggy?
got It's both, but you got to want it. Really want it. Try it again.
Think.
No, that didn't work.
It's
Try
like
it again.
when he moves the penny in Ghost.
Come on.
It really brings a tear to my eye.
That's
every
part of your
time.
liver.
Like,
You don't
it's
want that
just-
back?
Maybe
Think
should-
about Whoopi.
just
You're going to get
wants
back to
that
Whoopi.
penny so bad.
You're going to hold Whoopi in your arms.
Be
You're
the
going to
Whoopi.
make clay together.
Maybe, I'm just spitballing here. Maybe you don't need to go into the body. Maybe the body needs to go in you.
I already put my
I like
pants
that.
back on.
No, not like that. Not like that. I'm talking.
You eat yourself?
Manja. You need
Yeah,
to eat you. You need to eat you. Just get down there and like trough it.
Like
just go
a
in there and
hungry,
trough
hungry
it.
hippo it? See
Just,
if you
yeah,
get
just
down
go in there and just plow your face through you.
I think I've got it figured out, but let's take a quick break.
You got it figured out?
You got it
Yep.
figured out. This is
And-
the first.
And let's go to the beach and
like that.
traipse around.
Okay. Are we
Oh,
bringing Tammy with us, or are we
Of
going
course.
Can ghost traipse?
I feel like they're the best at traipsing.
There's only one way to find out.
All right. You're listening to Fort Fritz.
What are you guys listening to?
They pause for a moment of stylized self-introspection. A minute of clarity is needed for the motherfucking soul, y'all. But not too much that cuts in the time for drugs and booze. Motherfucking booze, yeah!
All right, welcome back to Fort Fritz. Yeah, we're just lifting weights right here next to the inlet.
Sort of got like a muscle beach thing going on, right? Like, look how swole I am.
Look all,
39, 40.
look all taut and greasy.
So what would actually be the cause of Tammy's death, do you think?
Just terminal blandness.
There you go.
Let me get a spot over
like
here, Tammy. Tammy, spot me. Wait, you're a ghost.
I got
Get
you.
away
I
from
got
me. You're a
you. I got
ghost.
you. I
You're not
got
going to
you.
be able to do anything.
No,
Do
it's
it.
fine. I got you.
He's a
I
ghost.
got
He
this.
can't
Pump
got
this
you.
out. Pump this out.
Yeah, I got it. Okay. He was,
Spotted by a ghost sounds like the worst, like, Jim story. He was spotted by a ghost.
Yeah, sounds like it could be like an Alanis Morissette album. Spotted by the Ghost. And it was really good, but no one heard it. Yeah, it's just weird that he has no ID on his person that is really wrecked and looks awful. And I'm so sorry, by the way. But
it was definitely more recognizable before we got to it.
his journal, his personal belongings, just nothing makes sense.
Nothing was interesting. It's not that it made sense. It's just nothing was interesting. It was just like, why am I looking at this? Why am I reading this? And I think that basically just he died because life got bored of him. No offense.
That's
No
not how
offense.
death works. I mean,
I'm just doing
that's
this
a
as
funny
a
way to
clinical
Say mean
perspective.
things and then no offense.
It's
I
not
don't really.
mean
that's how-
if it's clinical.
It's a funny way to make fun of how boring he is, but I think that we should probably focus on the actual, cause and method of how a human dies. Now, life doesn't get bored of humans and cast them aside. or people get angry with humans and kill them.
Yeah.
Who would want you dead, Tammy?
Who would want Tammy dead, I think, is the main question.
I have killed like 70, 80 people.
What? Wait, what? That seems like a lot of people to say you've killed.
That's a lot. And you said
Were you in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines?
Wait, this is actually coming back to me. I think I might have used to be a hitman.
Oh, okay.
That's
Really?
neat.
This is just popping back into your head
you
now.
just remembered
Really?
that
Well, I'm sorry, I haven't transposed into corporeal form all that often.
Did you have a trigger? Did seeing the mutilated body of your own body trigger this? Were you someone that cut people up and were you a butcher or what?
I think maybe it's the working out
Oh,
that
okay.
we're doing out here.
Okay, so that
gotta work
triggered
out a
something?
lot.
Get the endorphins flowing. You're
Yeah,
feeling good.
like-
If that's your last memory, being excited to kill, what about working out triggered you just telling us that you were a hitman and you killed multiple people?
Like a lot of people.
Were you supposed to be working in the back 40 near Restrepum Inlet?
It's actually,
What was your job?
it's all kind of hazy, but there's some dudes doing a podcast. Like they
Oh shit.
All right.
supposed to find them, kill
Tell
them.
me, tell me about them.
Bunch of-
Speaking of the mic.
It's one really short, annoying dude and a couple of loud guys. They don't really have. They're both kind of fat.
Shit.
That sounds like every podcast. what about? Now, what about this one?
This guy's gonna be busy.
What about this one podcast?
Whoever sent me on the job said they were uncovering some secrets they weren't supposed to.
Oh, shit.
They were just delving into things they didn't need to be involved in.
Damn it.
Do you think we're suspicious?
Get him! Get him! Tackle. Whoa, he went right through him.
I'm a ghost.
I think you have to truly love him to touch him as a ghost.
You set us up.
You still can't hug a ghost. He's trying. Look at him try. Even his
appreciate
angry
it.
love isn't working. Even his angry love cannot touch that
I got more
ghost.
stamina.
Okay, well, he's not being aggressive with us, and I don't know that he could wield anything and or influence our corporeal forms.
Nice.
Because he just sort of goes through us. And on top of it, he's pretty mild-mannered, right?
Why would I even care about you guys? You guys are just out here chilling, fishing.
Yeah, we're just fishermen.
Yeah,
but
we're
we like to
fishermen.
get buff occasionally when we're getting swole.
Okay, so you're a hitman, and you said you killed 70 people. So you're just the type of person that kills people, and then no one knows why they died. You're not. You probably leave the bodies there, but no one knows, right?
That sounds like me.
You just in
I
leaving
have a flair
bodies,
for the dramatic.
leaving bodies in forests, leaving bodies in rivers,
Look at him. He's trying to pick up the pack of cigarettes.
leaving bodies in hotel rooms.
Ice cream
Bathtubs,
trucks.
hotel rooms, ice cream trucks. Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Look at him. He wants that cigarette so bad he can't touch it.
If this guy, because we can't tell anything about him because he's a ghost. We hacked into it so quickly we couldn't really get any true stats on it.
Had great cabs though.
But this reminds me about a bit of an interesting unsolved murder. Have you ever heard of the murder of Roland T. Owen?
No, I have not. Roland T. Owen.
Yeah, Roland T. Owen.
Very sing-songy name.
I was going to say, sounds like a country song. Right?
Roland T. Owen, dying in the hotel. Look at him dead, look at him dead. He'll probably never die again. Of all the unsolved murders in the U.S., the murder of Roland T. Owen is certainly one of them. On Wednesday, January 2nd, 1935, a man who identified himself as Roland T. Owen checked into the Hotel President in Kansas City and never checked out. Now, when he showed up, he had no luggage, no other clothing, no items at all except basically what he was wearing and a few things he was carrying. Now, according to a bellhop, all he had was a brush, a comb, and toothpaste with him. That's
So
it.
if he had no luggage, he probably was just either carrying them straight out right in front of his person,
This is my comb and my toothbrush. I would like room at Hotel President.
or he was,
Roland T. Owen.
or he was tucking them into the pockets of his person.
Note that I don't have anything on me
In case you
other
notice,
than this.
traveling very light. All I
smart
got is this
comb.
right here. Check it out. They checked him in, and Roland was checked into room 1046 or 1046, because that's how numbers can be said. You can say numbers different ways.
Yeah,
I
that
didn't
help,
know,
that
you know, it's
that,
weird.
that actually helps people
That's-
memorize them.
They're like,
I didn't
oh,
even
okay.
think about that.
Just like when people tell you their phone number weird. It's like 428-167.
Why are you telling me this? Send me a text.
Later that day, a maid came to clean the room, and she found Owen sitting alone in the room with just a small lamp lighting the room with the shades drawn. Later, she said that he always liked to keep it dark. Always like the room dark.
Kind of like the
sad
Genesis
Roland.
song.
Oh, keep it dark.
That's
That's one of my favorite Genesis songs. It's such a great song. Now, he told her to leave the room unlocked because he was expecting a guest later, and then Owen left the room. The maid said that he appeared to be nervous and frightened, kind of agitated by something going on. 4 hours later, she returned with clean towels. She found the room still unlocked from earlier, and she entered, feeling that he probably wasn't there, and found Owen laying, fully clothed, on the top of the still-made bed, asleep. And there was a note on the bedstand that read, "Don, I will be back in 15 minutes. Wait."
He didn't say like 9:17.
No, just a note that said, "Don, I'll be back in 15 minutes. Wait." And he's sitting there, laying there, completely clothed on top of the sheets.
Time it takes to eat whatever, like a foot-long Frankfurter and then I don't know.
Don, went to buy Hot Pocket. We'll be back in 7 minutes.
Served by a soda jerk. Now, that night, around 11 p.m., a man named Robert Lane was driving home when he was flagged down by a man wearing just an undershirt and slacks and no coat despite the cold. Robert noticed that the man had a deep scratch on his arm. He said, "You look as if you've been in it bad." Robert said. The man responded, "I'll kill that blank tomorrow."
Oh.
The newspaper that reported this omitted the expletive. "I'd like to think it wasn't the B. I'd like to think it's a C." You know, everybody wants to go with the B, but it's like it's gotta want. You know, I have.
Oh, we're assuming
I have small goals.
it was B or C, and not like F or like
A V?
Or there could
or
be
the O.
different- There could be
God, those O's.
a W.
There's so many O's.
Lane, Robert Lane, drove the man to a taxi stand, and later, when questioned, he would identify the man as Roland T. Owen.
He gave this fucking salty ass motherfucker a ride after. He's like, "I'll kill that bitch" or whatever, whoever.
He's like, "Okay, I'm just going to take you to the taxi stand and get out of my car as quickly as possible."
I would have
Yeah.
been like, "Dude, get out of here."
You know when
Well, maybe he was like, yeah.
Who are we talking about?
Yeah, we could do this tonight. The next day at 10:30 a.m., the same maid returned to clean the room. This time, she found the door locked from the outside,
Oh no.
as if the guest had left and locked the door. So she assumed that Roland was out, used her passkey, and entered the room.
This maid, she assumes she can go in if it's open. She assumes she can go
That's
in
what
if it's
maids
locked.
fucking do, dude. Have you ever been to a hotel?
Yeah, I guess.
They'll
Put the
walk
thing
right
up
in
and
you.
be like, "Lady, chill."
So she enters the room, and there again is Owen sitting on the bed with the lights out, meaning that someone had locked him in the room because it was locked from the outside. So he's just sitting there in the lights waiting for whatever's going to happen. So he was awake, let her clean up the room. While she was cleaning the room, he got a phone call.
That is really eerie.
Yeah, just go ahead, clean in the dark while I watch you. Nothing is odd here as I sit fully clothed on this bed in a locked room.
But there was no note, or that was the note?
No, the note was the first time. This is the second time.
So there's no note.
No note, just him sitting there.
So she assumed
He was
and walked
asleep
in.
with the note. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So he takes a phone call while she's cleaning, and he says over the phone, No, Don, I don't want to eat. I just had breakfast. No, I am not hungry. And he hung up the phone. Now, later the same day, the maid returned with more towels. This chick is really into towels.
This woman is extreme. Like, she's sleuthing. I feel like she understands
probably.
something's
And
up.
towels are her excuse.
She has the exact like phrasing of the conversation, phone call conversation. She knew that the guy was agitated and being weird in her first interaction. She's like super like Monk, the like the fucking
The OCD detective.
yeah. She's like picking up on weird shit no one else is. She's like, he only had a comb and toothbrush.
The rest of her floor is like, I received no towels.
I haven't
She's
had a
just
towel all
buzzing
week.
around this one dude's room. Is there
Just
a maid
whipping towels
at
at
the
him.
hotel president?
Now, she knocked on the door, but this time she heard two voices in the room. When she said she had towels, a deep, rough voice told her, Leave. We have enough towels. Though she knew they had none because she had just taken all the dirty towels earlier and was bringing back clean ones. So she's like, You definitely don't have enough towels. I have all the towels.
Right.
Why don't you need more towels? And so for her, this had to be a nightmare world.
Yeah, she lived for the towel.
Yeah, she did. As she should.
TAO.
the Tao of Towel. So she left. That night, other guests on the 10th floor complained about hearing loud voices coming from the room, both male and female. The next morning, the hotel operator noticed that Owen's phone had been knocked off the hook for a while. So a bellboy was sent to check on Roland to see if he's okay. Then the bellboy noticed a Do Not Disturb sign on the door.
That had never been there before.
Right. This is the first time. And so he fucking knocked anyway. They always do. It says, do not disturb. They're like, well, they don't mean disturb this much. They mean like, no. So, of course, she knocks. Or he, excuse me. Of course, he knocks. He heard a low voice respond, come in.
No.
Turn on the lights. But the door was locked, and no one responded. He knocked a few more times, no one responded. So he just yelled, hey, put the phone back on the hook, okay? And left. He was like, okay, I don't like this. He felt creeped out. He went back. Almost 2 hours later, the phone was still off the hook. So they sent another bellboy, and he used his passkey and entered the room. The room was completely dark this time.
This is the badass bellboy.
Yeah, he's like, fuck this. I'm
the
going
fucking
in.
serious
I am
one.
going in.
Yo, I got the passkey.
Yeah, I mean, like, the first one was a pussy, but this one's just crazy.
I identify more with the first one. I'm not going to go fucking walk into this weird-ass room.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
a bellboy, all
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, the manager of the hotel gets to go into that fucking room, not me.
Way above my pay grade.
Yeah, fuck that.
Not paid.
And
to
he's
do
not
this.
tipping you when you get in there with this weird-ass fucking, like, locked door, come in, turn on the lights bullshit.
Yeah, that shit ain't happening. The room was dark, but by the light of the hallway, he could see Roland laying naked on the bed, face first, and the phone on the floor near the bedstand. So the bellboy, assuming that Roland was just drunk, righted the table, put the phone on the hook, and backed out of the room. He later stated that he noticed that the bedding around Owen was darkened. He assumed it was, he wet the bed, or maybe shit the bed. It happens when you're drinking. Come on, right? That happens like a lot when you drink, right? Like at least only like once a month or, every other week or something, right? Right?
Talking about blood shitting, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
Oh, yeah.
okay, yeah, totally. Okay, thank you. God, I thought it was crazy.
Yeah, no.
Around 10:45 a.m., the phone was off the hook again. Even after being righted, all of a sudden, it's off the hook again.
The second bellboy was like, now that's bullshit because I know that guy was dead. That guy was dead? What? What did I say?
So they
Listen,
said,
not for nothing, I'm clocking out. I got to get the fuck out of here.
I'm good for the day. Can you pick up my shift there, Rhonda? Thanks. So the third bellboy is set to fix the issue, but was met with a very, very different scene. He stated, quote, when I entered the room, this man was within 2 feet of the door on his knees and elbows, holding his head in his hands.
Oh!
I noticed the blood on his head. Then I turned the light on. I looked around and saw blood on the wall, blood on the bed, and in the bathroom. This frightened me, and I immediately left the room and went downstairs. Police and an ambulance were sent to the scene immediately. Amazingly, when they arrived, Owen was still somewhat alive. When asked if anyone else had been in the room, he responded, nobody. Then he claimed he fell and hit his head on the bathtub, which is completely reasonable because they later noticed that he'd been tied up with a cord around his neck and wrists and ankles, had a fractured skull, and had been stabbed in the chest several times and had a punctured lung. So that always happens when you slip and hit your head on a bathtub.
Bathrooms
Wow.
are terrible, dangerous places with a lot of
They're
sharp
the most
stuff.
dangerous place in the home. They're the most dangerous place in the home. Except the kitchen if you're at my house. So the doctor said that the injuries happened 6 to 7 hours ago, meaning that he was bleeding out when the second bellboy arrived. That was blood in the bed, and he was laying there bleeding out. So there's some theories that he kept on just trying to reach for the phone in mid-consciousness and knocking it over and not be able to dial for help and just crawling off the bed and just barely living and then eventually, dying. So, yeah, he died that night, January 5th, at the hospital. Detectives found no weapon and none of Owen's belongings in the room, even the small amount of things he brought, none of it, none of his clothes, not even his coat, his brush, all that, gone. All they found was a hairpin, an unlit cigarette, and 4 small fingerprints on the phone that they suspected were female. Now, they researched into his name, and they could find nowhere a record of anyone with that name. Either there, he said to the bellboy that he was that he was from Los Angeles. They checked there, could find nothing. No one could ever come find that name anywhere.
False name.
So his body was even put on display, and photos were sent to newspapers saying, "Do you know this man?" to no avail. So his body was about to be buried in a potter's field when the funeral home received an anonymous call saying that they would send money for a proper funeral. And a few days later, cash arrived wrapped in a newspaper. Anonymous flowers were also sent with a card that said, "Love forever, Louise." Now, about a year and a half later, a woman named Ruby finally identified the man as her son, whose name was Artemis Ogletree.
Yeah.
Artemis fucking Ogletree, dude.
That's a great name.
That is amazing. If he's not a drummer or like
A badass hitman.
either one. So, and at the time of his death, he was only 17, according to Ruby.
Really?
Yes. And she also reported that she had received 3 letters from her son after he had died in that hotel room, because she didn't know he was dead. And with a month after his death, she received 3 different letters, and they were all typed, which he never typed and didn't even know how to type, and used slang and terminology that was completely unfamiliar to Artemis. And so that always confused her, and now it seemed like she had an idea that, okay, these weren't from him because of the whole death thing. So throughout the years, there have been other bits and pieces of clues. There's been a lot of possibilities of tied to him cheating on a woman, and then the jilted lover coming, and the both of them killing him. There's mob connections with him staying at other hotels nearby with other men, and so but none of it has ever been able to tie the whole thing down. Throughout the years, there have been bits and pieces of clues, but nothing ever comes close to explaining how or why the horrors of Room 1046 happened.
The fact that he was alive but wouldn't say
Yeah,
who did it.
that's crazy. Where, I mean, if you know you're going to be dead, I'd be like, fucking, it was Fred and Jennifer. Go fucking get it.
Right, exactly. I feel
know?
like that debunks the jilted lover theory, because if it is like crime of passion, these two people kill you, and you have the ability to be like, it's Jennifer, then yeah, but
It had to be something that was such an extreme kink that he didn't want to embarrass his parents, or something
I
like
guess
that.
if he was 17, if all that checks out, then yeah, you're dealing with.
Well, maybe he was,
a kid.
he was advanced. He got into it deep, quick.
Oh, yeah. 1935. you
Name
couldn't
like
look
Artemis Ogletree.
Yeah.
Kid
Something's
was a
happening.
freak.
Something's happening.
Kid was a freak.
Fuck yeah, he was. Speaking of things that should be was, we should was him, because
Right.
he is now, and I want him to be was again. And so if we could change the tense of this person, because he's ising, and I want him to be wasing. No offense. I mean, I'm sure
What
you're
they
a fine
do
guy.
in Ghost.
I just don't like hanging out with the dead. I'm just not into it. I don't mean.
How did he?
How'd you get dead? Did
Look
you?
at him.
Okay, well,
I
he's a
feel like
hitman, so obviously people want to fucking kill him.
Right.
I mean, I've just met the guy, and I fucking wish I could.
At this point, it's the expertise is more on our side, right? Like we
Yeah.
deal in the supernatural,
We
and the
do.
paranormal, and the like how to get ghosts back into their eviscerated, chopped up bodies on the beach. So let's go back over there.
Okay.
Yeah, we're kind of like novice necromancers.
I thought you guys were just fishing.
No, that's what we say, but gone
Fish?
necromancing. You were a hitman, correct?
So, yes.
Okay. And you're now dead.
Apparently, yes.
So someone put a hit out on you.
He did have the weird scrap of paper in his pocket.
Yeah.
He had the cool phone that looked like a field radio thing from like 1940
90
something.
nothing, yeah.
It looked
Yeah.
old. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pre-USB technology. I will
Here's
tell you
my
that
thought.
much.
Okay, we talked about the story about them finding that beautiful, amazing man of a corpse, and how beautiful. Just all of that reversed. Like
Yeah.
all of that.
Do you feel bad?
The other side of that.
I don't know so much about feeling bad, but definitely just kind of out on the whole thing. There's no real point to it anymore.
Yeah,
If you can tell me right now that you would like to kind of do some things differently, I want to put that body back into you, or however we're going to do it.
I
Ryu
want
body.
nothing to do with that body.
We can give you a second lease on life, Tammy. We can put you back together. We can make you more than you were. We are exceptionally gifted fishermen.
Yeah.
Definitely do some things different this time.
You'll just wake up.
Yeah, everything will be fine if you just let us do whatever we
Well,
want.
the waves are now chopping back.
Let's
at the
get
body.
back to the body and
Yeah.
get it.
Some
It's getting a little
organs,
close.
I
We're
think,
getting into
are
high
going
tide
back
now.
into sea.
So let's go back. Let's go back and get it real quick before the waves sweep it away.
I think
back
we should just
into
let the waves
ocean.
fucking sweep it away, man. That's why. I mean,
He
it's
needs
just
a body.
My body.
It's not even a body anymore. It's Burger.
Windy
Wow.
and
Waves are.
white squall.
Yeah,
Is
looks
that,
like-
Jeff
I'm seeing some
Bridges?
white tops. On this.
Jeff Daniels or Jeff Bridges?
It's getting kind of wavy out there. It seems like.
I don't want to be out here anymore. Like the
Yeah,
sand's
it's
whiffing
not
up into my
looking good.
face. It's like a
It's not
storm.
good.
We got a storm
Yeah.
going on.
Okay, we need to back away.
I have so much sand in my eyes. I can't see them.
Just fuck the body. I think we
I
should just
can't
back
grab the
away.
body myself.
Yeah,
I
you
can't even
can't, and
touch
we
the
don't
body.
need to touch the body anymore. And there's something coming out of the water right now. Look. That's not a fin. Oh, shit! Fuck! Fucking giant ass tentacle, dude.
This is like anime.
Dude, yeah, it is like anime, but it's
very
not as
anime.
sexy.
No, none
I'm
of
not
this is
turned on.
sexy.
I'm like scared.
Oh, I slammed right into
I'm
Tammy.
wait, now I am turned on. Ah, damn it! This is scary. Okay, so this
It
is
just
this is not good.
dragged Tammy's body and all of our fishing gear and most of that portion of the beach. That thing was like huge.
Oh my god, it's cheese.
That was a huge.
Oh, there's no cheese
There's
anywhere.
no cheese anywhere. That thing took
Forget
everything.
all about cheese.
That-
Holy shit!
That was Folly John's.
You think so?
That had to be. What other giant tentacled beast do we have in
It
this
smelled
bay?
pretty
It
bad.
smelled awful.
a
It
little bit
smelled
bad.
horrible. It
Smelled-
grabbed the body it took in.
Ammoniacal.
It was so
Ammoniacal.
fast.
And I'm not ammoniac.
It was so fast and so big. I don't understand.
Ugh, it
That's what
smelled
most
awful.
people say about me as a lover.
All right, Tammy, look, check it out. You're a ghost, so I'm not that threatened by you, especially because you can't touch nothing. Why don't you just come back with us and we can figure this whole thing out? But that is Falling Jonks, and
Yeah.
we do know about Falling Jonks, so maybe we can help each other remember the past.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't, at this point, really have anything else to do.
We'll get you a little basement room. You'll stay down there until we decide to talk about you again, and then
You're going
and
to trap
then
me in
we'll
a
figure you out.
basement?
Well,
No,
no, we're
you
not
can
trapping
have-
you.
no,
No,
yeah,
no,
you
you
have
just can't
free
leave
reign
it.
of the
You can
basement.
have
You
the
can't
basement.
leave it. You just can't leave it. You're
The
not
basement
trapped
is
there.
all you. Well, part of
All of you. That whole room is you.
He's going to be chained.
Good.
Chain?
All right, so thanks for listening to Fort Fritz. Don't worry about that guy. He's all good. Keep on listening to us. Keep on sharing everything you hear. Listen to the episodes. Listen to the mini-sodes. Tell your friends about it. Tell your family about it. Tell people that you're just driving down the street and you see them on the street. Stop your car and yell at them and go, listen to Fort Fritz! And then drive away so they'll be really scared and confused like we like people to be. Listen to us on iTunes. Listen to us on Stitcher. Listen to us on Libsyn. Listen to us on YouTube. Listen to us every damn where. You can share us on Facebook. You can share us on Twitter, Fort Fritz, at Fort Fritz MCT. And you can check us out on Instagram. Just share the fuck out of it. Keep listening. Keep loving, because we love when you listen to Fort Fritz.
It's goddamn Cast Man Daddy and the motherfucking Fritz Band. It's goddamn Cast Man Daddy and the motherfucking Fritz Band. They're gonna totally rescue that cat from a tree, oh. Flipping over burning cars. Stupid baby, get the fuck out. Burning cars today. No job.
No. No breakfast yet. Still pretty hungry. Got some soup in my left sleeve. My favorite movie is Rudy. Can you send a new jacket? Roger. Sending coordinate. Cancel that new jacket, garçon. Looks like things are sort of working themselves out. I'll be back in Arlington once I'm through here. Over and out.